This is a serious question because one guy told me he can tell when a girl has no father or no men in her life if she has zero knowledge about boys' interests like cars or sports. I grew up mostly with girls, never had a boyfriend, and now I feel like I'm so easy to read. Can people tell if you're inexperienced or lack a good father figure by those things? Do guys really think this deeply? I thought as long as I didn't have obvious traits like attention seeking, it would be okay. But really, because I don't know about cars, I'm unsure. I'm in my early 20s. Oh, and happy Father's Day. Edit. I want to clarify that I didn't mean to come across as rude when I said, do guys even think this deeply? I'm a huge overthinker, so I think very deeply about things most would never consider. When I said that, I meant, do guys even think about these little details? Or are these little details that serious to them? Some may think this is silly to think about, and it's possible men aren't questioning women to the extent I believe. Story 1. I have always found that when a woman is too eager for male attention, it is because she lacked it growing up. I find it heart-wrenching because I know that no man was there to tell her how valuable she was as a person, to warn her that many men, not all, would take advantage of her craving for male attention. They will try to use her for their own malcontent. She is worth more and should carry herself with that value instilled in her. I have a soft spot for women with father issues because I have experienced how much they seek out having a quality male figure in their life. The problem I tend to have with them is that if you do not provide them with that level of attention, they often will try to seek it elsewhere. Story 2. Depends on the issue. An abusive father will have one effect, an absent father a completely different effect. Story 3. People tend to gravitate towards situations and people that are familiar. There is a tendency for people to pick partners who exhibit some of the same traits as their parents. For example, men may choose women who treat them like their mothers do. There is a stereotype that women select men who treat them like their fathers do. So, if a woman's father was unkind, she might choose partners with similar traits. Nothing is clear-cut and everyone is different, but it is often noticeable when a woman has unresolved issues with her father, just as it can be noticed when a man has unresolved issues with his mother. Story 4. Ask them questions about how they grew up. Listen carefully and do not interrupt, and they will tell you more than you need to know. Story 5. Yes, especially when we have been burned by it before. That comes with a lifetime of experience, though, and to be honest, this guy sounds like a joke. I guarantee he does not really know the true hell that causes, and I am talking about 20 years of therapy type of information here. Story 6. Maybe it's just me, but I have not really been able to notice which women I have dated had absent or distant fathers unless they have told me directly. I can say the knowledge about cars and sports does not correlate. I have known women who know literally nothing about cars who have had perfectly fine relationships with their fathers. Story 7. One person told me they can tell when a girl has no father or no men in her life if she has zero knowledge about things like cars or sports. However, that does not mean anything. Story 8. I can tell you that I have never thought this about a woman before. Also, most women have very little knowledge of male interests, so I do not see how that is a giveaway. Lastly, having a father figure does not matter to me, so I would not care anyway. Story 9. Does not believe in traditional male concepts of heroism, productivity, meritocracy, truth, or principle. Thinks tyrannical female leaders are morally equivalent to male heroes. Believes using lies and social maneuvering to get ahead is morally equivalent to how successful men advance. Thinks freedom of speech and the necessity of dealing with uncomfortable truths are not real, but just tools male bullies use to justify cruelty. Story 10. Yes, you can tell if you know what to look for. Some men do look out for that. Having zero knowledge on boy stuff like cars or sports is not one of those indicators. Many women have no knowledge of that. Some guys believe in the Glenn Quagmire method. Story 11. It's her attitude towards men and how they interact with them more than the masculine skills like car repair. Many women don't have any knowledge of that, and that's fine. That's not really what most guys will care about. Sometimes her only ways of interpreting male-female interactions are through a lens of sex, either thinking that's all men want and shaming them for it, or trying to appeal to it. Attention-seeking is part of it, like you said. You can see a lot of these women on social media anytime there is a day for men, such as Father's Day, International Men's Day, or Men's Mental Health Month. They will have terrible opinions about men, and it's easy to pick out which ones have terrible or non-existent relationships with their fathers. If it's a bad relationship, they usually extrapolate their relationship with him and apply that to men as a group. It never goes well and usually manifests as misandry. They don't really interpret men as multidimensional people. They often see them in simple terms. Do guys really even think this deeply? Like you just did. Story 12. Does not mean anything. I have met some great women who did not have fathers present in their lives. Loyal women who very clearly did not have daddy issues. People deserve respect. Story 13. There is a stereotype that is often true. Women with difficult fathers may become more promiscuous. Women with difficult mothers may become more masculine and emotionally distant. The same applies to men, but in reverse. Of course, this does not apply to everyone. People handle things differently, but in my personal experience, this is what I have observed. I do not judge people or think about it much. Most people outgrow adolescent behaviors. Whether someone falls into one category or another does not make them a bad person. It just means they need to be shown love in a different way. Story 14. Normal guys do not really care. All that matters is that you both treat each other with respect and love. Story 15. Does it matter? My wife never met her father. We have been happily married 22 years this month. I had an ex who had a great relationship with her father, yet she cheated on me and ran off with another man. I do not see a correlation. Story 16. You can't tell. This is based on false stereotypes. There was a survey where people thought those who were into bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism had some sort of daddy issues. It turns out 65% of the population enjoys bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism, and most of those people have great relationships with their parents. I would say that hypersexual behavior, which is commonly perceived as being the result of daddy issues, is actually a sign of sexual abuse. Asexuality, which is perceived as being from a stable family, is also a symptom of sexual abuse. The moral of the story is never to judge a book by its cover, and don't listen to old wives' tales. Girls like what they like and guys like what they like. It's probably based more on genetics than upbringing. Story 17. You ask them, and they talk about their family relationships if they trust you enough, instead of relying on false signs. Story 18. Are you close with your family? Would get me a response that answers that usually. Also, their online presence. Some women make it very clear that they have no issue with making negative generalizations about men and posting them online. If I flip through the stories of my Instagram follows right now, I guarantee there will be 2 to 3 people posting some sort of men suck meme. Story 19. How can you tell when a girl does not have a good relationship with her father or any men in her life? This is a serious question because one man told me he can tell when a girl has no father or no men in her life when she has no knowledge about typical male interests like cars or sports. It is usually the opposite. Women with fathers in their lives often let their fathers handle these interests and may not learn about them themselves. Women who do not have fathers often have to manage these things on their own. The real indicator is how they treat men. They may be disrespectful and unwilling to listen. Story 20. When she dates men 10 or more years older than herself, it is quite staggering how stereotypical this is, as one person mentioned below, men's validation. Story 21. I don't understand why other men are so concerned about a woman's relationship with her father. My wife's relationship with her father was lukewarm at its peak and non-existent for most of the time I have known her. It has not had any impact on how she treats me or our son. It is such a strange metric to me. Story 22. A girl who does not have a good relationship with her father may respond positively to poor treatment and give you sexual access. If you treat her well, she may not respond favorably. A girl who has a good relationship with her father will not tolerate poor treatment. If you do not treat her well, she will not respond favorably. Realizing that being unkind to girls with father-related issues led to sex conflicted with my values. I wanted to be kind and compassionate, but doing so did not achieve what I desired. Story 23. Fatherless behavior generally refers to actions exhibited by individuals who lack strong parental guidance. It is often observed in women who have low standards, high insecurity, or significant attitude issues. Story 24. Seeking familiarity. Often, even when a male parental figure is negative, it creates a mental headspace of familiarity since a father is usually the closest male figure a girl or woman has, besides perhaps a brother. If the father is very poor, neglectful, or not giving much attention, those indicators influence the types of relationships she seeks because that becomes the set standard in her mind. These subconscious tendencies and traits are what she gravitates toward. Conversely, a girl who has a good relationship with her father understands what good treatment and respect are like. In friendships and relationships, this often results in seeking those with high emotional intelligence, social skills, work ethic, open-mindedness, and similar qualities. This is by no means one-sided. Similar concepts apply to men as well. Story 25. Girls who grew up with fathers are better at arguing their point up to a certain extent without everything escalating if they are proved wrong or still told no. Girls who grew up without a father only ever argued with their mother and never saw their mother back down or admit fault because there was no one for her to back down from. It is easier to love bomb a girl from a single mother-led home. They are starved for attention that they say they do not need and will do anything to keep it even though they tell their friends the opposite. Story 26. She struggles with her relationships with men and probably makes poor choices because she did not have good role models. Story 27. I think of father issues. Girls who make terrible life decisions, especially centered around men, because of neediness for male attention, even if it is toxic. A relationship with a father influences a lot in how women deal with men. When I see anxious or avoidant responses or irrational stress reactions to something normal, it seems like a trauma response. Unhealthy defense mechanisms appear because of past experiences in toxic situations. For example, eating chocolate might trigger them because they associate it with toxic men from their past. There is nothing wrong with the behavior itself, yet they develop a defense mechanism associating eating chocolate with toxic men. It is not hard to see the irrational and unusual behavior. Common signs I frequently observe include low self-respect, anxiety, high fear response, emotional neediness, and lack of self-discipline. Story 28. Do people really think this deeply? That's just offensively worded. People will literally sit around and document all the little bugs in the world or develop math to explain the dots in the night sky. Regarding your question, yes, we can tell when a woman has either been so dependent on a man or men in her life that she doesn't know how to check her oil, change a tire, switch a breaker, do outdoor camping stuff, and so on. B. Did not have an active man to show her how to take care of herself. Some men prefer these women because they feel more useful around them and because they tend to be more needy of approval and affection from men. They are, unfortunately, also easy targets for abuse. Other men want a more independent woman that they see as a partner, not someone needing to be babied with tasks they can accomplish on their own. For example, they will help, but when it is very inconvenient, she should be able to change her tire on the side of the road during a 4-hour drive. You don't have to have conversational knowledge about professional sports or car trends. We have other people to chat with about that stuff. However, you should try to educate yourself on the knowledge gaps you have. If nothing else, so your car mechanic does not scam you, which is very common. Story 29. The overly simplified answer to this question is, does a woman actually know the average male perspective on a given issue, or does she only know a strawman version of the opinion or position? In terms of whether men pay attention, that varies from person to person. I know men who have many things they consider when first meeting someone and check them off in their head. I also know men who would not notice a red flag even if it were obvious. This is not to say that not having a father figure is a red flag. It is a different comparison. Story 30. When she dates guys who treat her poorly, this is more common than with older men. They have no reference point to guide them. Even if dad was a horrible person, she would understand what that looks like. All the girls I've known will do anything for attention, including living in abusive relationships. 2 good friends and former roommates were strippers a while ago. I wonder if their fathers were present at all. The same applies to boys. They have no reference point for becoming men and part of the group. Story 31. Rude, aggressive, finds a way to blame him or men for anything, does not see a real relationship as feasible because her parents lacked one. This can be applied to any gender, but I have noticed that women who come off like this have more issues with their father than with their mother, even if both are toxic parents. Story 32. Promotes her subscription platforms in her bio but gets upset about male attention and messages from men in direct messages. Story 33. Similar behaviors can be observed when a man does not have a father in his life. Emotional instability, lack of discipline, disrespect for masculine authority, and, in the case of women, promiscuity. Story 34. I can tell when her father definitely meets her needs and is not artificial intelligence trash. It is a hilariously bad question because women who do not have a good relationship with their father are always very hard to get. Such women are relationship material. I hope the artificial intelligence that posed this question understands that women with a bad relationship with their father are easily identifiable by how hard they are to get to know. Story 35. Very easy to spot. In fact, it is the first non-visual hurdle you have to overcome before I even deal with you. Story 36. Do men even think that deeply? I am tired of the constant, casual, thoughtless insults. It is non-stop. It seems you cannot contain your malice for even a single conversation. I am done with it. Men built everything you see around you. Men are 99% responsible for the creation, protection, and upkeep of every civilization in human history. There are more great scientists named Albert than there are great female scientists. To this day, men are responsible for 93% of patents. We are the creators. We are the builders. We are the people who think deeply. All women do is consume male labor and complain. You contribute nothing. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.